Master planning. Master planning is creating a long-term blueprint or vision for the development of a specific area, be it a neighborhood, city district, or an entire town. It establishes a cohesive vision and outlines what can be built where, considering things like land use, infrastructure, and zoning rules. Think of master planning like designing a giant puzzle or a blueprint for a city's future. Planners decide, for example, which areas will be residential, which will be commercial, where parks or schools will go, and how all the roads and services will connect. This way, as the city grows, it grows in an organized, intentional way rather than haphazardly. For instance, if a city is developing a new district on empty land, a master plan will map out everything in advance, ensuring the result is a well-designed community rather than a random sprawl of buildings. Strategic urban planning. Strategic urban planning is planning with big-picture goals in mind. It focuses on setting high-level objectives for a city's future and figuring out where and how the city should grow or improve. You can think of strategic urban planning as a roadmap for a city's future. City leaders and planners start by asking, what do we want our city to be like in 10 or 20 years? They might set goals like, make it easier to get around town, or ensure every neighborhood has parks and schools. Then they create a strategic plan to achieve those goals, coordinating different city departments and projects. For example, a strategic plan might include an initiative to expand public transit and build more bike lanes if the goal is to ease transportation and reduce traffic. Another example is setting a strategy for economic growth. The city might plan to develop a tech hub or arts district to create jobs and culture. Smart growth. Smart growth is an urban planning approach that encourages sustainable and community-friendly development. In essence, it means concentrating growth in compact, walkable urban centers to avoid sprawl that is the uncontrolled spread of suburbs. Smart growth promotes things like mixed-use neighborhoods, a variety of transportation choices, and preserving open space and farmland. Imagine a city where neighborhoods have everything you need within a short walk or ride. Instead of endless highways and cookie-cutter subdivisions spreading into the countryside, smart growth favors developing lively, compact neighborhoods. A real-world example is transit-oriented development. A city builds housing and shops around a train or bus station so that people can easily use public transit and don't need to drive long distances. Cities like Portland, Oregon, have used smart growth policies to keep their downtowns vibrant and protect natural lands. New urbanism. New urbanism is an urban design movement that champions walkable, human-scaled neighborhoods as an antidote to suburban sprawl. It emphasizes designing communities where it's easy to walk and interact, rather than having to drive everywhere. The focus is on mixed-use development and attractive, community-oriented design. New urbanism emerged as a reaction to the car-centric suburbs that dominated the 20th century. It aims to bring back the feel of classic small towns or city neighborhoods where you can stroll down the street to a cafe or a grocery store, bump into neighbors at the park, and have a variety of homes and jobs in the same area. A famous example is the town of Seaside, Florida, designed in the 1980s as one of the first new urbanist communities, with picket-fenced cottages, a town center, and everything within a short walk. Urban revitalization. Urban revitalization means breathing new life into areas of a city that have experienced decline. It focuses on improving rundown neighborhoods or districts, often those hit by economic hardship, population loss, or physical decay. The revitalization process usually involves strategic reinvestment and improvements, such as repairing infrastructure, renovating old or vacant buildings. Think of a part of your city that has many abandoned buildings or potholed streets. Urban revitalization is the effort to turn that around. City planners and community leaders might start an initiative to fix the sidewalks and roads, encourage new businesses, and refurbish housing in that area. For example, a city might offer incentives to developers to convert an old warehouse district into trendy loft apartments, offices, and art studios, as has happened in parts of cities like Detroit and Pittsburgh. A famous case is the High Line in New York City. An old elevated railway was transformed into a popular public park, sparking new shops, housing, and art around it. Land use planning. Land use planning is all about deciding how land in a city or region is used and what can be built where. It involves creating maps and rules, like zoning laws, that separate areas for different purposes. For example, residential areas for homes, commercial areas for businesses, and industrial areas for factories. This planning ensures that the city has the right balance of housing, jobs, parks, schools, and other needs, and it prevents conflicts. A simple way to understand land use planning is to imagine a map of your city colored by purpose: yellow for housing, red for shops, green for parks, blue for industry, etc. These designations don't happen by accident. Planners work with community input and government policies to set these zones. A real-world example? Many cities have zoning rules that reserve land for public uses like schools and hospitals, ensuring these essential services have a place. Infrastructure planning. Infrastructure planning deals with the core systems and facilities that keep a city running. This includes transportation networks, utilities, and public facilities. Planners in this area figure out what infrastructure is needed, where to put it, and when to build or upgrade it to support the community's needs now and in the future. You experience the results of infrastructure planning every day, when you turn on the tap and clean water comes out, or when you drive on a highway or take a bus. Good infrastructure planning means thinking ahead. For example, if a city's population is growing on the east side, planners might propose building a new highway exit or expanding a subway line to serve that area. A straightforward example is the planning that goes into a new residential development. Planners must ensure there are roads for access, connections to the power grid, water and sewer lines. Environmental planning. Environmental planning is about making sure that as cities grow and develop, they protect the environment and promote sustainability. This branch of planning looks at how plans and projects will affect air and water quality, green spaces, wildlife habitats, and overall quality of life. It addresses issues like reducing air and noise pollution, managing resources wisely, protecting sensitive areas, and planning for climate resilience. Imagine a proposal to build a new neighborhood on the edge of a city. Environmental planners will assess things like, will this harm any wetlands or endangered species? How will rainwater runoff be managed so it doesn't cause flooding or water pollution? For example, many cities now require an environmental impact assessment before a big project can start. A practical example is when a city plans a new transit system to reduce car traffic and emissions, or when they design green infrastructure like rain gardens and permeable pavements to absorb stormwater. Economic development. Economic development in urban planning is about strengthening a city's economy and creating opportunities for residents. Planners and officials focus on attracting and growing businesses, encouraging investment, and ultimately, creating jobs and a higher quality of life. Think of a city that has lost a lot of manufacturing jobs. Economic development efforts might aim to diversify by attracting technology firms or tourism, so the city isn't reliant on just one industry. Planners might designate an innovation district with tax breaks for startups, or redevelop an old industrial zone into a business park, hoping to bring in new employers. A real-world scenario could be a town building a new convention center and hotel to draw visitors and events, which in turn boosts local restaurants and shops. Another example, improving job training programs and transit access in certain neighborhoods can help residents benefit from new jobs that come in.